Hello, and once again, welcome to African Politics, another beautiful day where we discuss issues affecting us as Kenyans and generally Africa as a continent and the people of Africa in general. Today, again, we have none other than Fanyamambo Kinoti. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you.
How was your...
Not bad. Not bad.
Good to have you back.
It's been a beautiful week. Thank you very much.
Fantastic.
Yes.
So today we're looking at a very interesting, we're going to have a very interesting conversation. And this is a question of why President Ruto gets all the critique, all the funny names, and all the accusations online.
Well, you see people describe you for who they see you to be. President Emilio Mwai Kibaki, people used to say the guy who calls us Pumbav, because he would keep quiet for a long time and people thought something is wrong with him. But it's his work that was speaking, not him. Then when he comes, he would listen to people and he would say, Pumbav, do. And he would go on with life. So people took him for that. Then came President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. People called him Wamashati because he had very many shirts and they were all very flowered. They called him Wamashati. And now we have a man who comes and says one thing today and he means the exact opposite. And he proves he means the exact opposite. And where is gas for 300 shillings? Where is that airtime he said, tutakuwa naongea kwa soko, kusumbulwa, hakuna kusumbulwa na bundles. I mean, he says things and then people look at him and say, okay. Then we wait and then it doesn't happen. Or the exact opposite happens. He said during the campaigns he's not going to increase taxation by a shilling. He has more than doubled taxation. He said he's not going to borrow. He has borrowed more than the previous administration. So that is why people are fighting him. They are not fighting him because they hate him. They are fighting him because what he told them, he's doing the opposite.
And it's interesting that with the social media age, I've seen so many videos where sometimes I wonder what's the separation between Ruto, the man, like William Ruto, Dr. William Ruto, the man, and President William Ruto. How do we draw the gap so that then we know what we are looking at?
I have had the benefit of having sat in a law class in my undergraduate and having learned that my criticism should be directed to President William Samoei Ruto and not William Ruto, the man. Unfortunately, it becomes hard to follow that because sometimes you want to do that. And then you see members of his family. And then you see, there was a time they were riding a bicycle. And there was a contingent that looked like like two police stations had closed down to give them escort to just ride bicycles. And you know, they live in State House. There's enough space to ride bicycles in State House. That would have cost the taxpayers less, no blockage of roads and so on and so forth. And then you see some of the vehicles that are being driven by members of his family. And Kenyans, have all these on social media. It becomes very hard to separate him now from him, the person, from us, the taxpayers, because we kind of feel that before he was president, we were not seeing this happening to members of his family. Now, this display of opulence is what now makes Kenyans, they say, no, there is no boundary between the president as the president and the president as a person, because it appears that our taxes have all gone into the wrong places.
So how do we separate the presidency as an institution then? So that if today I wake up and I'm angry and I want to do a video and I can manipulate it to anything, then I don't go beyond the respect for the presidency.
It is very simple, my good friend. The late Mwalimu Julius Kabarage Nyerere, may he rest in peace. When he died, or when he was sick and about to die, government started repairing the road that was going towards his house. I don't think there's a sitting president in Kenya who would get to the point where they are sick and the road going to their house is not tarmacked, marked, lit, and so on and so forth. Kabarage Nyerere was a selfless leader. And many Tanzanian presidents, after their retirement, by the way, you go to the local villages and you find them living with people in a very normal way, in a very normal life. Even the late the President Ali Hassan Mwinyi and all the others who came thereafter. These people have lived very simple life after they became president. But look at the opulence that follows our presidents. And that is what is making it hard for Kenyans to separate. So we must get to a place where these people begin a process of self-denial, where they begin to dissociate themselves from public resources. The minute people realize that you're not living a life that is extravagant on their resources, they forgive you, they love you, they accommodate you, they see you as one of their own, and they respect you. Mandela was not keen on accumulating. Actually, when he left, the state took care of him. He was not keen on accumulation. I don't know what's wrong with people. By the way, you are 60, and then you are rumored to have stolen 5 billion. Do Kenyans understand what a billion is? You know, let me break it down. If you had a billion today, just take a billion, it has 9 zeros. And then you divide by 365 days. And then you divide by 50 years. My friend, you'll spend 54,000 shillings every day for 50 years. You take 54,000 in the morning, you go, if you have money left, you throw away. Tomorrow you take another 54,000 for 50 years. Now someone is 60, they've stolen 50 billion, 100 billion. What's wrong with their head? Because that's a guy who can literally spend $1 million a day. Now that money will never come to an end. So it's just being greedy and foolish. You just take too much money, and then before you realize there's nothing you can do with it. So it just stays in the bank.
I want to know, when you say the opulence of the president and his family, is there something that you can actually pinpoint and say this is actually a show of opulence, or then this is tax money?
Number one, it is tax money, full stop. Because before the presidency, these vehicles were not there. This opulence was not there. And you know the president's salary is known, it's 2 million. So when you come with a new 32 million car, and it means it's this 2 million saved up, not buying anything else. Even if you save it for a year, it's 24 million. So something is wrong, definitely. And everything is wrong, definitely.
Something that I've found very interesting, our president has taken so far up to date, the last as per the trip to Italy and Ukraine, Switzerland for the peace conference in Ukraine. That was his 63rd international trip. And now with that, people have called him Msafiri. Do you feel then these travels are important, or are they impactful in any way? And then how does that affect us? Or why do we critique the president when he travels?
Number one, the problems that are facing Kenyans are not in Ukraine. That needs to be very clear. They are not in Italy. When you increase the cost of diapers, that has got nothing to do with a trip to the US. The local problems will be solved locally. The president needs to come to his office in Harambee House and sit down and start working for Kenyans. You cannot deliver much when you're in the sky. It doesn't happen. The problems that are with the farmers, mirror anything, will only be fixed from an office in the country. This thing of Kenya importing handkerchiefs 60 years after independence, toothpicks 60 years after independence, will not be resolved by going to Switzerland. It will be resolved by us sitting here and saying, wait, we are exporting bamboo to China, and then China is using that bamboo to make toothpicks for us and send them back here. We are exporting leather outside the country, and Kenya is always importing shoes from other countries. So, and those are the conversations we need to have, and we cannot have them when we are in the sky or we are in other people's countries. We just need to say, where is our leather? Our Maasai are slaughtering cows every day, and we are packing leather and selling to other countries, and then they bring it back here as shoes very expensively to us. If you cannot manufacture a shoe 50 years, our own children are wearing underwear from outside this country. We can't make underwear for our own children, and we are busy roaming the globe. We need to settle down. We need to sit down and decide that we are going to fix our problems from here. We should be ashamed that 60 years after independence, Kenya does not have its own bicycle. A bicycle, what conversations are we having?
So you do not want our president to travel?
To go and do what?
Negotiate and get signed bilateral deals for
what
us?
Deals do we need? Let me ask you, to start manufacturing a bicycle, what bilateral deals do we need? Look at the countries that have it. How many trips does the Chinese president make in 1 year? You need to research. I've told Kenyans, that guy sometimes stays in China. He may leave China twice a year. For you to grow yourself, these men who are always out there, they barely ever sire children in the house. Children are sired by staying with your wife. So if you want to have children, you stay at home and you make time for your wife. Don't start wondering, why is my wife not giving birth? She's not becoming pregnant like the others. The others spend the nights in their beds. That's how their wives became pregnant, and that's how they've been able to build families. But I cannot be all over driving buses and driving trailers all over the world and saying my wife doesn't get pregnant for me. What's wrong with my head? I have to settle down. And that's how life is lived. Settle down, work. Work from home. You will make your country great. The president of Senegal is doing great things right now. He's not moving around.
But you know, he's also taken 12 trips so far in 2.5 months.
You see, let me tell you one thing. The dynamics for him could be different because he's probably trying to, after you divorce with your former fiancé for many years, France, you probably need to get people to fill in that gap and work. But Kenya is at a place where we have a minister, we are paying by a lot of money to be Minister for Foreign Affairs. Why can't we have that guy roaming the world? So because he's just doing foreign affairs, because the president does everything else. That guy, we can tell him your work is to roam. And when you have a minister going, the entourage is different from the president, so the costs are even lower. If we must go around the world, let's get one person who is a very good diplomat and create the information that we need, and we make this person the global traveler. Or we hire 3 if we have to cover the whole world. These ones are here, these ones are here, these ones are here. But the president must stay at home and work for us.
You want our president to stay home. Basically, that's what you're saying. Would you now pinpoint, because every day we've seen people complain and critique and say that President Ruto has failed, he lied to us, he did this. What are these issues that you feel he actually has failed, if he has?
Number one, I usually tell Kenyans, me, I read the Azimio manifesto. And then I hear there was another manifesto that used to say Hati Pangwingwi. I think that was a manifesto. So it's a very amorphous manifesto. We are not able to tell what the promise was and what the promise wasn't. But we can remember market declarations that we will lift Mama Mboga, we will not increase the taxes of Mama Mboga, we will give them hustler fund. People ended up getting 500 shillings and they ate and they never paid back because it was not money that would help grow any business. Nobody talks about hustler fund anymore. And many other promises that were made. I think what is killing this administration more than anything else, more than even the opposition, is the promises they made. They made way too many promises. And they repeated them. And it sunk in the hearts and minds of people. And people voted for them based on those promises.
But one of those promises was to launch Hustler Fund, which they launched. So is that not an achieved...
Let's have a good conversation. So I come and promise you that I'm going to launch Hustler Fund, and I launch. Then I give you a loan of 300 shillings. And I tell you to pay in 14 days. What would you do with 300? If you left your house and went and bought spinach at Marikiti, the fare alone would be 100. And then you buy spinach worth 100 and come back with 100 as fare. And then you sell for the first day spinach worth 50 or 60 shillings, and then what happens? It needed to be meaningful. Why do banks succeed with lending? Because banks take time to listen to you. They ask you, why do you want 200 and not 300,000? And then they look at the feasibility of what they are giving versus what is going to come out of it. And that's why most of the times banks are successful in lending. Hustler Fund was, you want 1,500 shillings, you get it on your phone. And then it doesn't ask itself, it doesn't lend itself to the question of what can this money do and how can it help the nation?
If I look at it critically from an African perspective, I look at a country like, let's say the countries that exit ECOWAS, and Senegal was one of them, and Diomaye has come in, and now there are conversations of taking Senegal back to ECOWAS. Then if Ruto does something similar, are we being so harsh on our president comparing to what we are seeing out there with other nations?
We're not being harsh on our president. All we are saying, in fact, Kenyans have never told him to do these things by force. What Kenyans have always told him is, Mr. President, this is what we want. But again, if you feel we're asking for too much, you can just resign. Someone else will come and give us what we want. It's that simple. Nobody is forced as president to do what wananchi want. That's what the president forgets. He has an option of waking up and saying, your demands are too much. I'm resigning. Get somebody else to do it. It's simple. People are always resigning everywhere. I don't know why politicians don't resign. Yeah, if Kenyans are asking for too much, if a minister today, if you're a member of parliament and you think we're asking too much from you, just resign. Someone else will come and do that too much.
But we don't have IBC.
That's not the question. We shall constitute IBC somehow. We are a country. This country will not be held ransom by the idea of not having IBC. All you need to know is simple. If any public official feels that what we as Kenyans are asking for is too much, it is not us to leave. Sisi ni wengi, we are more. We are 54 million. Where do you want us to go? You are the one who is alone as a leader. You go. If you're a governor and you can't deliver, just go. Your county has got 1 million people. Kiambu has 2.4 million. There's another county with 135,000 people, I think Lamu. There are counties like Isiolo with 260,000 people. Where do you want 260,000 people to go? If you can't deliver as a governor, just resign. Someone else will come and deliver.
And in line with that also, with the activism that has been going on online, especially on Twitter, TikTok, and wherever, and all these creatives, to an extent, do you feel like we are being disrespectful? Because yesterday I was watching a clip that had the president addressing, of course it's a creative that's mixed up, then someone has a gun somewhere shooting the president. Do you think then we're being disrespectful to an extent?
Let me ask
or
you.
How far is too far?
Let me ask you. Were there ever created clips of that kind for Mandela? Were there ever created clips of that kind for Magufuli? Do you think when Kivutha Kibwana was governor for Makueni the other day, people would have created clips that depict an idea of them even thinking that they would want to kill him? People react to you according to how you make them feel. When you decide that you can increase the cost of diapers, when you decide that you can increase the cost of NHIF, when you decide that you can raid into people's salary anyhowly, when you come and say that nyumba zitajengwa mpende msipende, when you come and say some of these things, people detest you. And they start thinking bad ideas. And they start drawing you in a bad way. Let me tell you, when you do something nice, people used to joke about Professor Magoha in very good ways, by the way. And people used to joke about Matiang'i in very good ways. I think what you do as a politician or as a leader is what determines where people put you in their hearts and how they draw you and what images they depict of you. Look at Obama and his presidency. I mean, the US is one of the most advanced democracies where you can go and draw a cartoon of anything. You saw what was drawn about Trump, and you saw what was drawn about Obama by the same Americans. Why did they have such a good image of Obama and a very sharp contrast of Trump? What you make people feel is what they give you back. Every young lady who grew up with a good father had a very nice message on their Facebook page about my father was a good guy, my father is my hero. Even for those who are dead, they were even writing nice tributes. But for those who had horrible fathers, they wrote horrible stories about their horrible fathers and say that even if their fathers woke up, they would burn them in the grave with petrol and so on and so forth. So you as a leader, what you make people feel is what they give back to you. And don't be surprised. If you're a bad person, people will give you bad reviews. And don't hate them. They're just giving back to you what you're giving to them.
On the other hand, our president has tried or has been trying to push the Pan-Africanist narrative. And I don't know why that is not sitting well with our brothers across Africa. What's happening?
You see, it's good to walk your talk. President said that African presidents should not go to one country where they are called. You remember even saying that they are put in a school bus like kids. He said they should not go. himself. When we have video clips of him saying that African leaders should not go and take themselves to a country where one imperial president is sitting and talking down on them, and they have all gone there. In fact, Africans should be nominating 2 or 3, remember, or one person to go and speak on their behalf. I think he did not consult himself. William did not consult Ruto, because immediately after that, there was one of that kind in Korea. Ndege, haraka, quickly, he's there. And he's joined the other African presidents, I don't know how many of them. And they're all in Korea now watching one imperial president talk to them. I think the reason people fight the president is not so much because of that Pan-African idea. It is when you say something and then you do the exact opposite. I wish either he didn't go to Korea or he did not say that presidents should not go like that. But you can't come and say that presidents should not allow themselves to be treated in this particular way. And then you rush and take a flight. In fact, I think he had come from one trip and then immediately he was in a hurry. I think he was changing planes at the airport. And he took the next one and went to Korea. That is where the point of departure is drawn. Many leaders who say specific things follow them through, and they do them. And then they are known for those things. And then people come and say, President so-and-so said that Africans should not be treated this way. And since then, he has not gone to those conferences. But you can't have a mix of both.
Now, when we look back at, you've even mentioned some leaders, African leaders who created a legacy for themselves. We had Mandela, we had Mwalimu Julius Nyerere. We have, across different people. We had in Ghana, what's his name, Nkrumah. And he started a very big initiative of Pan-Africanism, basically. What do you think then our president is creating for Africa?
Confusion. Period. Confusion. Leadership is about providing direction. And it's about being able to say something and following it through. I give you the example of one day during an interview, the example of Isli, where a president comes and says you can build high-rise buildings. Then after a month, he comes to the airport and says these high-rise buildings are affecting this airbase, and therefore we are not going to allow them. People need certainty. Why are investors leaving Kenya in drones? It's because government policy is not clear and it's uncertain and it's unpredictable. When today you come and say this and tomorrow you change, no investor wants to invest in such a country. Why are people going to Rwanda? It's not because it's a very democratic country, by the way, but it's because there's a certainty that elections don't interfere with life. And that in Rwanda, if you invest, your investments are secure. And government taxes will not wake up one day and you're told a 25%. 25% increase in something is someone who is telling you go home, literally. Yes, and I mean, you remember Kimani Kuria telling people they can go and invest in Uganda, then import into the country without caring the labor laws. So that is where the president is putting.
So what do such pronouncements then do for us as a country out there?
Number one, I said the president needs to surround himself with the right people. First, he needs to wake up tomorrow morning and fire everybody who is working around him. Because like on his foreign affairs policy, he should have listened to someone, an expert in foreign affairs, to tell him, you are going to Ukraine, yes. Our position on Ukraine and Russia looks like this as a country. When you go there, these are the things you can say. These are the things you cannot say as the head of state. So he'll always go there polished. He'll always go there and not leave Kenya in. I'm imagining, by the way, for your information, the Russian ambassador to the country had visited State House, I think 2 weeks prior to his trip. And he has said, we are going to strengthen bilateral trades with Russia. And when you go to Ukraine and say, Russia has made a mistake by invading Ukraine, which of those 2 policy statements is accurate? will the Ukrainians trust you? Will the Russians trust you? That is a very bad mistake. And that is what is happening. Our president has become very inconsistent. And I'm saying this as a person who understands the law and as a person who can be able to come and say, this clip says this, and here is where it's cancelled. This one causes confusion here. I mean, we see him on State House. This is the Russian ambassador. You've just had a very nice conversation. And you've promised we are going to work with Russia and to strengthen bilateral trades. Then you go to Ukraine and tell them, why are these guys invading you? Now, does that strengthen our bilateral trades with this country? I have always stayed, and I keep telling Kenyans, this aircraft you display here on Madaraka Day, those things would be switched off by the Russians in the air like this. I think they're just for spraying insecticides around. Those are all the things you want to have a confrontation with Russia with.
You don't trust our security teams in Kenya?
You know, these are people with nuclear weapons, the Russians. I think they are. Go and ask which is the most modern aircraft. You know, even our KDF bosses, even the ones that are carrying our top politicians in this country, you hear 1986. Where in Russia would you find a 1986 aircraft in the air? Doing what in the sky? Maybe if it's been sent to put out some fires in the bush or something, or to check whether there are giraffes that are on the wrong side of the country. But if they have them there, or to check where the snow is excess. So let's not have confrontations with nations that have got the capacity to obliterate us. I mean, look at the war with Ukraine. What do you think would happen if the Russians had invaded Kenya?
Let's not go into that.
No, it's good because this is getting to the core of it. So what I'm just trying to say, as a nation, we need to be careful. We need to have our international diplomatic relations well thought out, and we need to put the right people in the right place, so that the advice being given to the president is the right advice. And sometimes it's good when he goes out there. Sometimes it's good to keep quiet and just come and say Kenya is a friend of Russia and Kenya is a friend of, and we are praying, we are going to pray for you to have peace. You can say that and keep quiet.
But then does that mean we cannot take a stand as a nation? Does the president, because you know when you go out there also, you have to take a stand. You can't just be seen to be...
Life is about interest. And as a country, we only care about our interests. What works for Kenya? So taking a stand sometimes is not the best thing.
But you know, one of the things that will just absolutely shows you've taken a stand. Our president was in the United States the other day. So when we keep complaining about IMF, World Bank, and he's already having meetings with President Biden and the ambassador in Kenya, and we can see all the things that are happening, then are we not taking a stand? A bit not him saying we're doing this, but it's clear.
Is Biden sure of his re-election? Let's not commit so much with someone who is not sure of his re-election.
They signed deals, whether he's...
No, because if the Republicans were to come in, of course, they will change so many things.
Yes.
I think there was no hurry to sign those things. Let's start there. Before the president left for the US, Kenya was going on, by the way. We were eating ugali here. Kenya was going on. Even our matatus, they were waking up in the morning, by the way, for your information, and they were carrying people. Nothing had stopped in this country. Even if he had missed the trip, I can assure you the matatu would still come on in the morning. Children will be dropped to school by the buses. This country will go on to a very great extent, whether or not we are rushing to sign those things. And I think also we need to learn the culture of resisting some invitations. When I am here, I get so many invites for so many things, for media appearances, even for people who just want to buy me coffee because they think I am the biggest fighter for democratic space and rights and good governance. But not every other cup of coffee is to be said yes to. I could be poisoned, I could die, so many things could go wrong. So we need to also learn to have the culture of saying no, because you cannot be invited everywhere and go everywhere. As a nation, Kibaki did 33 trips in 10 years. 33 in 10 years. Our president has done 63 in 1.5 years. So I think it's going to be in the Guinness Book of Records. We've never had such a widely traveled president in the world ever. So let's also learn to turn down some invitations or to delay some invitations.
How do you then think the president could correct these things? Because we can't, every day, basically if you go to YouTube, President Ruto this, Ruto
Right,
this,
Tim.
Ruto is a liar, Ruto this.
Right, Tim. The other day, the government of Kenya, through Kenya Kwanza, had appointed somebody to become Kenya's ambassador to Congo. Someone who went to parliament and taught them new GHC and told them that GDP is the population of a country. And that would have become Kenya's. And then he was asked to explain about his career work, and he said the best he has done is manage a petrol station. That was going to be Kenya's diplomat to the Congo had Parliament not said no. So the president has to start making the right decisions. He has to start appointing, and Kenya has brilliant people. Let me tell you, Kenya has brilliant people. Mr. President, wherever you are, start looking for brilliant people. Don't look for somebody who says that GDP of a country is the population of a country. Don't look for someone who goes to tell Parliament that my highest qualification is running a petrol station. And then you send them to a country that has got a very tricky diplomatic relationship with Kenya because we have some forces there.
We brought them back, actually, just to make it clear.
Maybe we did. We didn't see them come. But the fact that Kenya has interests in Congo, and the fact that our soldiers were there then, and the fact that Congo is not very far from us, and Congo is a very wealthy nation, I think for me, I would look very keenly at who I appoint as diplomat. And when you do that, then come to State House, start asking yourself, who are your communication experts? The chief government spokesman, one day we asked him about the trips of the president abroad, and he told us, wacheni maswali ya upuzi, in that very tone. And that person should have lost his job the next day, because you can't talk to Kenyans like that. So the president has surrounded himself with people who don't add value to his presidency. And he needs to remove them, and remove them yesterday, and start looking for men and women who will deliver this nation from where it is. And he has to get the good ones. There's no other solution, trust you me. Otherwise, we will keep making mistake after mistake.
The president sent, or rather Kenya sent, our troops to Haiti to go fight there and restore peace. What do you feel about it?
I have spoken about Haiti many times. I said, first and foremost, our people-to-police ratio in this country is way below the provisions of the United Nations. We haven't even reached the ratio first. We have less policemen than we need. So I was telling Kenyans, I think we have dealt with crime in this country. There's no crime. You can talk on your phone at midnight anywhere. The police have become so professional, the way they handle maandamano, they kiss you, they are nice to you, their uniforms are the best. The Kenya police has done everything they needed to do in this country. The only thing remaining was to take 1,000 of them to Haiti. They have finished bandits. There are no people being killed by bandits. There are no schools that are closed because of banditry in this country. The Kenya police have done everything so exceptionally. They have made their systems to be computerized. We are doing so well. The only thing remaining is to take our troops to Haiti. We are not foolish to believe that. And I tell them, now that you've sent these men to Haiti, why? By the way, the British Army trains in Nanyuki. The American Army has got a base somewhere. Kenya has got some of the best training facilities. If I was president, the first thing I would have said is, instead of us taking 1,000 policemen, bring 5,000 Haiti young men here. Pay for their training, whoever is interested in supporting Haiti. That would have been very good. How we have 5,000 people coming, they are eating our food here, which creates demands for farmers. They of course love some of our girls. They might leave a boy or two here who will be born, that's fine. But training 5,000 young men here would have made more sense. And then putting them on planes to go back and deal with their problems. They know the geography of their home. They know the genesis of their problems. They know every corner. They know every street. They know who owns the guns. They know where the rebels stay. Those guys would have been the best. And by the way, it takes between 6 to 9 months to train a good cop. So for that period, we've been debating about Haiti. If I was president, I would have insisted. We have a training base in Embakasi, we have Eldoret. By the way, we have so many training bases for both the military and so we just train their young people to go and kill one another. And then maybe we can add a few bandits who are disturbing us here. The few bandits who are stealing cattle, we can sweet talk them and lie to them that there are jobs in the US. And then we take them there because they are bandits to go and deal with fellow bandits. And then we'll have taken care of our banditry problem here. So you send bandits to deal with bandits. I think we just have people who don't think, as again I told you. Because the people surrounding the president did not think of this. If I was there, I would have told him, let's go. Where are the bandits? We sweet talk them. We tell them there are job opportunities in the US. And those are job. And by the way, Haiti is not far from the US. So they'll believe. Once when they see the ocean, you tell them now, we are coming close to the US. Let bandits go and fight bandits. And then let's train Haiti young men here to go and deal with their problems at home. If they die, they bring more. They are giving birth. We train. They go until the day they will sort out their problem.
That's quite a very interesting perspective. So you're saying that our African brothers have forgiven us. I hope that is true. And something else I would want as we conclude. From now, a geopolitical perspective in terms of the stance we take as a country, especially because we don't actually do anything per se because the president is our representation. Then how do we correct that? Especially how does the president correct that? Because it's not, I can be here and saying I don't agree with what the president signed, but at the end of the day, it's the presidency that stands.
As I said again, it boils down to who is appointed to what position. We've made wrong appointments, and they've gotten us here. The day Kenya will realize that animals, and I'm saying animals, cows, will never allow the most foolish cow to lead them. The bell is always put on the most intelligent cow. And that cow knows where the pastures are. It knows where the river is. It even knows where the lions are. If you look at the Maasai cattle, the bell is put on the most intelligent cow. The cow that can take the other smaller animals from their house to the pastures, to the river and back home. Human beings, and especially in Kenya, are the only ones who will take the bell and put it on the sheep, and the youngest sheep and the most foolish and the most unaware, and then allow it to lead the way. And then you are wondering why the other animals are coming back home. They've not drank water, they didn't find, because the sheep will just go to wherever it thinks and it will bleat all the way and it doesn't know where the pastures are. Human beings have to get to that level. And as a country, we have to get to the level where we don't put the bell on the least intelligent animal. We start looking, animals, I'm telling you, even in the animal kingdom, the most foolish lion doesn't lead. Even the baboons, they look for the most intelligent baboon to lead them. Human beings have become the only people who will allow a baboon that has no idea what's going on to lead them. And usually they end up in problems and turmoil. Nyinyi Wanjiko, the people who are voting, and this message is clear for you. Your leader must be above you intellectually. Please, if you think of this thing of rewarding your neighbor or someone and thinking that you want them to go and help themselves with taxpayers' money, this is where you are landing us in problems. You must choose a leader who is more intelligent than yourself. You must choose a leader who has seen a lot more than you have seen. You must choose a leader who is in touch with you, but at the same time has got the capacity to take you from where you are to where you want to go. Otherwise, if you get someone of the same IQ as you and then you're wondering why they are not doing things, how will they do things that they think the same way you think and they are the same level with you? So as a voter, also start thinking. If someone is thinking like you are thinking, that person is not qualified to be a leader. Start looking for those people in your society who appear to have different ideas, who appear to have seen a better light in terms of what this country ought to be. And those are the people you shall make your MCA, by the way, your MP, all the way to the president. But if you choose someone because you have pity for them, or because they are from a poor family, ama ni mtoto wa single mother, or you are just choosing someone because you think leadership is a favor you give people, or you are saying this person was a teacher, now let them. Leadership is not a retirement benefits place where you put those people who've retired to go and retire in parliament. No. If you go to China, if you go to Japan today, the CEOs of some of the biggest companies are between 30 and 40. The chairmen now provide advisory. You find people in their 60s and 70s, they sit in the board of that company as an advisory person. Here in this country, we reward leadership to the old cronies who go there and they have no new ideas that they can bring this to this nation. So let us make the right decisions in the next election, because this is what will help this country. Otherwise, wewe kwenda kupiga kura hapo unasema ati tunapigia huyu anashinanga na sisi ground, anakulanga mutura na yes, ataenda kula mutura State House na huko kwingine. Get leaders who mean well for the country, and leaders who are a little bit more intelligent than yourself. That's the only thing that will help this nation.
Wow, I think that's a nice place to end it. And I hope all citizens picked a thing or two about leadership and basically the presidency and the importance of that seat to you as a citizen and as someone who wants to see your country and my country become better. Thank you so much, Fanyamambo, for being on the show, and I hope to catch you on the next one.
Thank you very much.
Also, remember to subscribe, like, and comment. Asante sana.